back to Why I Love and Hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is episode 2 of Why I Love and Hate, a new series that I want to kind of do. Maybe, do one a month. I think that would be alright. So this one is going to be focused obviously on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Going to pretty much get right into it, why I love them. Why I love them, the history. I love history, just history in general. Throughout all of school, whether it was, elementary or high school or whatever it was, history was always my favorite subject, and this really applies to hockey. Teams like Montreal Canadiens, one of the biggest reasons I love them is the history. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are no exception. So the Maple Leafs were founded in 1917. They were founded as the Toronto Arenas, not yet the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then in 1919, they became the Toronto St. Pats, a name that they would hold on for much longer than the Arena's name. They would be the St. Pats until 1927. What changed in 1927? World War I veteran Conn Smythe. He came in. I believe he previously worked for the New York Rangers. Or no, the New York Americans, because the New York Rangers weren't there yet. I caught myself. Conn Smythe, he came from a certain organization in 1927. He bought the Toronto Maple Leafs. So from 1927 to 1961, known as the Conn Smythe era. Some of the most impressive things that he did there, the most impressive thing was he, switched over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, which would become the most iconic hockey team in the world. For good or bad. They are the most iconic hockey team in the world. Sorry, Montreal fans. Another really impressive thing that Conn Smythe was able to do, in 1931, he built Maple Leafs Gardens. I'm sure he didn't personally build it, but he, got everything together that they needed to build the new arena in Toronto. The most impressive part about it is that while it was being built, it was right smack in the middle of the Great Depression. And things just were not being built, let alone hockey arenas or big, construction projects. So that is absolutely admirable and quite impressive, to be completely honest, and you can't hate on that at all. It gave us one of the most iconic arenas, Maple Leafs Gardens, which opened up in 1931, I think in November, and it closed in February of 1999, so 68 years, if my math is right, that they were in Toronto. Maple Leaf Garden, and that is all thanks to Conn Smythe. So the Toronto Maple Leafs definitely solidified Conn Smythe as a hockey, I don't want to say hockey hero, because even though he did play in his younger years, he was never an NHL player, but he is a very important figure in our game, and I feel like it's important to recognize that. So that's huge reason as to why I love the Toronto Maple Leafs. Another reason, the jerseys. Pretty much all the jerseys I've loved. Pretty much. We'll get to that in a bit. But even, those ones that people didn't like from the 2007 to 2009 or 10, I love those ones as well. You know which ones I'm talking about. I absolutely love them. They're boring, and there's no stripes pretty much, and I love them. Alright, so one of the things I also want to do when I'm talking about the team and why I love them, I'm going to give you guys some of the players that I've really liked over the years. Some of these players have not played there for very long, or are definitely not, the first team that you would necessarily think of when you think of that certain player. Example, Eric Lindros. I really liked him as a Maple Leaf. I know most people would think of him as a Philadelphia Flyer, maybe a New York Ranger. Definitely not a Toronto Maple Leaf, and probably even less think of him as a Dallas Star. So Owen Nolan, Brian Leetch, Vesa Toskala. I like Austin Matthews. Leo Komarov, I want to get on my blue Toronto jersey. Cujo, I really like Cujo. Vesa Toskala is definitely my favorite goalie that the Leafs have ever had. Matt Sundin, how can you not like Matt Sundin? He's got a wicked shot. I always loved watching him play. Two of my favorite players right now are Mitch Marner, who is absolutely just a treat to watch. He is one of the reasons I've started cheering for Toronto a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. I hope he doesn't play for Toronto for long, because I want him on a team I really like. But, that being said, I would definitely get a Marner Toronto jersey. And Nikita Zaitsev, one of the guys I watched a lot in the KHL. I guess not a lot, but enough in the KHL to know that I was really excited for him to come over to the NHL. Played for Novosibirsk and CSKA Moscow. One of those teams in the KHL I really, really like. The other, not as much. Alright, but my favorite Maple Leaf of all time, Jason Blake. I was never a huge Jason Blake fan as an Islander. I don't remember him at all in LA. I loved him in Toronto. I thought he was one of their best players during those really crappy years that they had in the late 2000s. So speaking of Jason Blake, that also kind of leads into another thing that I want to do with these little episodes. Let's talk about the most memorable goal from this franchise. And it involves Jason Blake. So I remember the date because it was Valentine's Day, so it was easy to remember. But on Valentine's Day in 2009, it was a Saturday night game, hockey night in Canada. Jason Blake scored 2 goals against Pittsburgh Penguins, who at the time were still my favorite team. And he scored 2 goals back-to-back in 19 seconds. And I'll always remember the Jim Houston call saying, you know you're in trouble when they're announcing one goal and the other one goes in. So to this day, that is the most memorable goal. And why? Because after that game, the Pittsburgh Penguins would fire Michel Therrien as their head coach. They brought in Dan Bylsma, and they would go on to win the goal. Not the goal. They would go on to win the Stanley Cup. The goal. They got a goal. So for that reason, that is the most memorable goal in this franchise. I know people would probably say Austin Matthews' 4-goal game, one of those goals, or Matt Sundin's overtime winner against Calgary. I'm sure there's older ones, Bobby Bond scoring a Stanley Cup winning goal on a broken leg. But for me, Jason Blake getting those ones back-to-back in 19 seconds, I'll always remember it. If I can, I'll try to find that video and link it in the bottom in that area if you want to go watch it. It's fantastic. So why do I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs, you ask? Where to begin? The media coverage. Everything revolves around the Toronto Maple Leafs. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. You're watching the Maple Leafs game whether you want to or not. It's everywhere. Toronto the Maple Leafs slap you in the face. You just can't get away from them. It's really frustrating at times. All you want to do is watch an Arizona Coyotes game and you're getting the Leafs. No matter what. No matter how bad the Leafs are playing, you're getting the Leafs. And it's just really, really irritating. You watch SportsCenter, you watch TSN, and the first thing they talk about are the Leafs. The last thing they talk about is the Leafs, and sprinkled throughout the whole show, the Leafs are in there. It just gets, like I said, super, super irritating, and it's just too much. Too much Leafs, and they're just crammed down your throat, and you just get sick of it. It sucks. Being a non-Toronto fan, it really, really sucks. Every other fan base in this league, especially in Canada, can talk about it, because living here in Calgary, we get talked about the Leafs more than we do the Flames at times. And it gets just really, really annoying. But moving on. So it's talking about a lot of the jerseys I really liked with Leafs. There's ones that I absolutely hated. The 1970s, like the Darryl Sittler years, those jerseys. I'll put a picture up here. If you like those jerseys, I don't know what to say. I think they are just hideous. I think they're probably some of the worst in the NHL history. Just god-awful. I think they're... I don't know. If you like them, whatever. I'm not going to change your mind, but I don't like them. So, it's really only the media coverage that I really, really hate. And those Darryl Sittler year jerseys, those are hideous. But the media coverage that I was talking about is the biggest reason that a lot of people don't like this team. Which is unfortunate. It's not necessarily the team's fault. It's the media's fault more than anything else. They just perceived so negatively because of that. And like I said, it is unfortunate, but that is the biggest reason I hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. But one thing that really, really made me so happy because the media covered it so much was the Game 7 collapse. And I know this is a bit of a sore spot still for Maple Leafs fans, but I'm going to talk about it because it made me so happy, because it just kept getting replayed over and over and over again, and it was fantastic. It just made me happy. So Game 7 against Boston 2013, it was the first time the Leafs have been in the playoffs in a long time, and they were playing relatively well if I remember. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this series. I think Game 7 was the only game I watched, to be completely honest. And boy, was it worth it. Seeing the Maple Leafs collapse like that, and Bergeron scoring the tying, and I think he got the tying goal, but I know he definitely got the winning goal. And Jack Edwards, who is the Bruins commentator, who by the way is the most annoying commentator in the entire NHL, and he will be in Why I Hate the Boston Bruins for sure. But that was his best call in the NHL. That was his best work. That was his finest hour. And the way he called that game and that collapse against Toronto, just a work of beauty. That was art. And that just brought me so much happiness to see all the sadness in the Leafs fans, because at that point in time, I was sick of the Leafs. I did not want to hear another word about them. And seeing them get outed like that with James Reimer, it just made me very happy as a hockey fan. Sorry, Leafs fans. I'm a little bit more empathetic now, but man, that was good. Good times. Good times had by all. Except Leaf fans. Alright, so pretty much wraps it up. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Why I love and hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'd be curious to see why you guys love the Maple Leafs, or why you guys hate the Maple Leafs. I'm giving you guys my reasons. What are your guys' reasons? Let me know. Also, if you want, you can check me out on Instagram. And also, if you want, you can check me out on Twitter. My Twitter is definitely not as good as my Instagram. If you want to see a lot more of my jerseys and just random hockey stuff, I put a lot more stuff on Instagram, so I'd recommend checking that out. I'll put a link in the bottom if you want, but if not, that's alright too. If you guys like, you guys can like the video or subscribe. But until then, we'll see you again, and take care. Bye.
In the darkness, the shadows they follow.